If you think your NYC DOT permits are going to get approved and permitted in a few days, that can be a costly mistake with embarrassing setbacks. What people expect versus what actually happens are two totally, completely different things. I've been doing this for over 21 years, and I can tell you right now, DOT permit timelines depend on the type of work you're performing. Some permits take a few days, some take several weeks, and some can even take months once you start dealing with outer agency approvals and bigger jobs. So in this video, I'm going to break down the real timelines for multiple scopes of work, all based on real jobs I see every day in New York City. Small jobs, simple permits. How fast can you get DOT permits approved for small jobs? Some permits can be approved in a few days if everything is correct and your scope of work is simpler than others. Things like basic sidewalk repairs, simple occupancy for facade inspection, or material deliveries can move quickly when the contractor is there for a limited amount of time and typically performing a small, singular task. Slightly bigger jobs. Most DOT permits associated with minor alterations take anywhere from a few days to a couple of weeks to secure approvals. This is also highly dependent on what work is nearby and the impact of our own GC. If your job goes beyond 30 days, typically you have a DOB work permit and this will have to be approved and permitted before you can apply for DOT permits. That portion alone can cost you 4 to 8 weeks in lead time. After you have DOB approval and work permit, then you can request DOT permits for equipment, staging areas, sign changes, and more equipment permits for all your subcontractors. Big jobs. When do DOT permits start taking longer? The more complex the job, the longer the timeline. Imagine going through MTA approval for 5 months, DOB approval for 2 months, landmarks approval for 6 weeks, then finally bring it to DOT for another wait of 4 weeks before any permits are issued to mobilize. This happens a lot with big projects like new building construction, contract work sponsored by city agencies, vault work, revocable consent agreements, or anything requiring outer agency coordination that can take weeks or even months before permits are issued. Rejections, delays. What if your permit gets rejected? Every rejection resets your timeline. So once you get rejected, you're going to have to wait all over again when you reapply. One missing document or wrong detail can push your permit back for days or even weeks, depending on how fast it gets corrected. An examiner can also simply go on vacation, and just like that, no other examiner will touch your job until they return. I really hope they don't take 2 weeks off in these cases. Outer agency coordination. What causes the biggest delays? Coordination with other city agencies outside of DOT. This can include New York City Transit, MTA, DOB, parks, or landmarks. If your job touches bus lanes, utilities, or protected pedestrian areas, approvals can depend on agencies like New York City Transit or Con Ed, and this adds serious time to your approval phase. At this point, you're probably wondering, how long is my job going to take? Here's the easiest way to find out. Send me the address and your scope of work using the link below in the description, and I'll give you a realistic timeline before you start your job. Timing. Does timing affect approvals? Yes, when you apply, it matters just as much as what you apply for. Holiday embargoes, busy seasons, or overlapping permits can slow things down even if your application is perfect. There are construction embargoes all year long. If you're not familiar with them, you won't be able to plan properly. Contractor status. Can a contractor affect the timeline? Yes. An unregistered or inactive contractor will stop everything before your project begins. If your contractor isn't properly registered with DOT, you won't even be allowed to submit an application. Literally, step 0. Reality check. So what should you actually expect when applying for DOT permits? Most jobs take longer than people think or plan for. If you've never done a specific scope of work with DOT before, definitely speak to a consultant who has. The contractors who avoid delays are the ones who plan for these requirements ahead of time because they've done it before, not the ones reacting to it. Hard rule. DOT permits and approvals don't delay projects. Poor planning does. If you build DOT into your timeline early, your job moves. If you don't, everything gets pushed back. So if you're planning a job in New York City and you need to know how long DOT permits will take, don't guess. That's how schedules fall apart. Send me the address and the scope of work by clicking the link in the description below, and I'll tell you exactly what timeline you should expect before your project starts.